So you want to.
Yeah.
I get it going.
I'm also afraid of touching technology, even if it looks like it's gonna be easy, that's when you get yourself in trouble.
Right. That it looks like it's been dinged already.
Yes.
That's wrong.
So I'll just give you the.
Oh, yes.
The February 6th meeting of the County Transport County Commission will come to order. First item on the agenda is pledge of allegiance, so please stand on it. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, the next item is the approval of the minutes. If everyone has an opportunity to read the minutes, is there a motion to approve? So moved.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Peach. Oh, by the way, Mr. Hagan's on Zoom, the other 14 members are all here in the room. So there. So, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hold, pat. And, next item is order, approval of the order of the agenda. Does anyone have anything to add or remove from the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion? All more people. Moved by Commissioner Rusted, second by Commissioner Ross. Approve the order of the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passed. The next item is the consent agenda with the bills, employee status changes, and overtime. Does any commissioner would like to have anything pulled to discuss? No, is there a
Move approval.
second? Motion by Commissioner Peach. Second by Commissioner Busted. All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Then, next item is tax equalization director.
Good afternoon, members of the commission, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Today I have for you attached for your information is a copy of my letter to the township assessors concerning the recommended average value per acre for each township for 2024 as required by North Dakota Century Code 57-02-27.2. Also attached is the notice of county average values per acre for 2024 provided by the state tax commissioner as required by North Dakota Century Code 57-02-27.2. The estimated average per acre for the county as a whole on cropland and non-cropland combined for 2024 is $1,012. As compared with $1,064.66 for 2023. Therefore, I'm recommending no change in agricultural land values for 2024, which keeps us within the state recommended tolerance of 96%. You can see the other information I provided. Do you have any questions?
I'm a little surprised to see all agricultural land average less than last year.
Mr. Chairman and
I don't think I've
Commissioners,
seen that before.
the egg values are based on a 10-year average, the high and the low are thrown out. So it just happened that this year it was down a little bit because of how the average works out. I do feel next year might not be like this. However, for this year, we'll stick with no value change and we'll be happy. We'll approve all the values in June at county board though, just letting you know what's coming up with egg hours.
All right.
Okay,
Do you need a motion to approve your report or just information?
just information.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next time I see Mr. Clevin has arrived. So. He'd like to use that. Take a minute for us. Sure. Mr.
Minute or
Chair,
hour, as much time as you
Yeah,
get.
I did put the, Mr. Clemens
You know,
updated document on your desk.
And so in response to the last time I was here, again, thank you for these invitations. Sent a brief update on this very high level topics from the last printed report that was submitted to the county. I'd offer the floor to questions here, if there's anything in that updated report in which you'd like further clarification.
Well, we just had it in a few minutes, so give it a few minutes.
And for the highlight of it,
If we can get you a copy to see as we go forward.
the highlight of it is kind of reiteration of actions required, which, you know, previous correspondence and testimony says, you know, we need to fix the ramp. We're recommending as required action, the upper level, that in our kind of frequent drive through that is regressing, it's not getting any better. It won't magically start getting better, it's just gonna keep getting worse. That's the required action that we would recommend for this fiscal year. Just from contracting, we also recommend the full scope of the repairs get contracted. With full knowledge that the lesser of the less essential work defers through into the 2025 season. There's not enough time to do all the work this year. But we do think there's time to get the upper level done. Provided that, you know, there's actions taken immediately, because the clock doesn't wind backwards, as we know. And we back calculated time to earn the work from a contractor, and just, it's time to act, or if we don't act, it's just getting worse. There's also a summary of just cost to date increases owing to time value of money and costs of deferment. And in general, construction costs increased about 10% from the last time a report was submitted. So those increases are tabulated. And I guess the point of that is just put some stuff to value the time as it relates to construction costs. I think that's a very important consideration here. And then we do estimate some total project costs to get an animal on the full rate of finance for a project. So the construction costs increase, administrative costs, and then the total project is summarized. And you've got the paper in front of you, which is better than my memory, so I just refer to the report for the specifics.
Take a look at one far if you want, but then you don't make it really. Living with those numbers.
Yeah, the specifics, you know, they're printed, I just approved the document.
Well, what are the wishes of the commission? The agenda item is parking ramp, and we have one document more to look at than we have before.
Yeah. Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I think, you know, whether the city decides to come in and take the ramp over or asks to take the ramp over, they still said that we need to take a foot forward and get some things done, and I think we need to get things done. So I guess at this time, I would like to make a motion that we proceed with the repairs on the parking ramp. Because it's, otherwise we got some liability issues. It's not getting any better. Some concrete's gonna fall, and either hit a car or hit somebody in the ramp. And I mean, we just can't afford not to do it at this time.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on?
What?
Yeah, before.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
appreciate it.
Mr. Ross,
I guess I would address Commissioner Ross's concern, and that's a very, very valid concern. I don't know that we've necessarily exhausted the negotiating options with the city. Now, we've seen here an increase of, you know, north of $100 million upfront cost. And they came to us, their starting position, they didn't want to cap on what we would pay. well, maybe that was just their starting position. I mean, maybe we could send them back something saying, we'll give you the ramp, you give us the land, we'll kick in $1.6 million, it's capped at that. And then we get the contract that provides us long-term parking, we increase costs for. You know, county staff, jurors, et cetera, going forward. I mean, I do believe that. In a land swap of this magnitude, things are gonna take a while to percolate and. For both parties to agree, and as you know, we found out at the administrative services meeting that there's obviously a lot of people with opinions on this matter. I think city administration would much rather not have anything to do with this round. I think they'd rather stick with who they have. But I think the city's trying to work with us and maybe we could negotiate something before we invest, because so if we can find a way to, you know, get them to agree to a cap. Even if it was 1.7, we're still money way ahead. And all of our staff still has spots. Now, that doesn't address Commissioner Beach's concern about, you know, control in the future. But maybe those concerns could be addressed in the contract. Even we could do a very, very lengthy contract where who controls it is irrelevant because it's already in a document stating that the county will have access to X amount of spots. You know, I don't know if they do convert to perpetuity, but I mean, you could at least say, you know, 99 years or something like that, something preposterous, so that it will never be anything but a parking ground utilized for the bulk of it utilized for county services. So I don't wanna jump per se into a repair of this magnitude, because one way or the other, he's gonna be doing repairs, whether it's us cutting up the check or the city that's doing it. So I guess I would prefer we send them back something, give them a chance to say no. Or give them a chance to counter. That'd be my preference.
My concern is that, as Mr. Phelan said when he was here, it will take months to negotiate. We have some needs that don't square with what the city would be likely to be able to do, such as free parking for our clients, roof parking, free parking for jurors, etc. And I took from that discussion that those are gonna be difficult things for them to come up with. I don't see that we can wait a couple of months while we negotiate with them. If we start the repairs and somewhere along the way, if all of it works out that they could do exactly what we need them to do, maybe a deal could be worked. But of course, we can't make a deal to sell to them anyway without putting it out for public bid, can we? The state's attorney?
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mr. Commissioner, I didn't.
Well, it just, I think you made us aware that we have, but this is not something we can just agree. It's a public building, it has to go and be up for public sale.
Correct.
And who knows who, I don't think anyone would likely to come in on this beat up old parking ramp, but somebody could.
I don't think you could give it away to the public because it costs them over $1 million to knock it down. I think it is gonna always be parking grounds. I guess my question for Ms. Longstead would be, how long does it have to sit in? I guess, purgatory, up for public bid? I mean, does it have to be a month? Is it 9 days or what's that look like?
Commissioner Rusted, members of the board, my recollection of the statute wasn't specific on the timelines for how lengthy you'd have to post the posting or anything like that, but it would have to be offered for a public sale rather than a private sale with one.
So we can throw it up right now and then readdress it at the end of the meeting.
I don't know that
Oh,
would be qualified, but
Easy.
there probably need to be some public notice, but if I recall correctly, the statute wasn't specific. Like some public bidding statutes say needs to be 3 consecutive weeks or something like that, and I can do some additional research, but I don't think that statute was that specific.
I guess then maybe. I do believe that if there's a deal made with the city, I think that they would act in good faith, and so if we started. To get the repairs going, as long as they match what the city felt the repairs needed to be. they would probably be willing to. Yes, it's just, I think those people would be willing to consider that with part of the transfer. So we wouldn't have to go above and beyond. So if we spent, say, easy round numbers, if we spent $1 million. And then all of a sudden, we can come to an agreement on the round. Then maybe our kick-in would only have to be half or, you know, 600,000 or something like that, possibly.
Well. Strikes me that. I can't see how we can not start the repairs now. If we are doing the repairs and we have contracts for the whole, whatever the amount is. The city would have to factor that in as to whether they would take that over, whether the companies would allow that to happen, whether all of our conditions on. How they handle payment, that they want to have people pay for parking, and how do you do that for people who don't have smartphones, or don't have the money to even pay to park? For most of our clients. In instance, we tried to do what we could to bring our employees up to close to marketable scale last year. This was very, take money right out of the pocket again, if the rate there doubled or more. So we'd have to sell all the things with the city, and that's a long way down the line. I said, don't you think we have to start the repairs?
Well, yeah, when you talk about the rates money out of their pocket, I think if we had kept them at market value. For the last 15, 20 years, we probably have money set aside already to make these repairs. You know, I don't wanna get back into this position again by giving more spots, unless it's the service that the commission decides they just wanna provide it, you know, a big loss, which is fine, I mean, I'm just one of five. But, if this is something that we wanna try to, have at least somewhat, maintain itself through its own funding, those rates will have to double or triple anyways, so that we can. Cause this is just the upfront, there's that ongoing, preventative maintenance piece that was not exactly free either. So I mean, we can't just line item it without having some revenue source.
I think to some extent, the parking rent is a service, not as much for our employees, but a fair rate is kind of a service to them. But it certainly is a service to the people who need the services and maybe can't even walk 2 blocks or where they might find a place on the street to park. You know, we've got such a different clientele here compared to the downtown office parking lots that I don't see how we can ever really think we're gonna make a profit on rent. If we're gonna keep it, we have to decide that to some extent it's the service, that's right.
Or if we are gonna keep that, we have to have a revenue source, so there's gonna have to be a tough decision probably made. On where to cut to pull the dollars to keep it in, condition going forward.
It's not an easy thing to solve. Mr. Hagan, you've been quiet over there.
Yes, I'm taking it all in, but I did have a couple questions. So I don't disagree that we should start some process of getting the repairs done. I don't want to have continued cost rising. But if we did start down that road, would we be obligated to finish the whole project, or are we, say we're only going to do this $500 or $1 million worth of repairs, and then while we are still in talks possibly with the city, would we have to do that? Maybe that's I don't know if that's in a contract that we have with Mr. Clevin or not, but is that a question maybe Mr. Ford can answer? Or do we have to do it all? Can we do like a portion right now and still continue to talk to the city and maybe go through some of those concerns that both Cindy and Dave have brought up?
That's a good question for Mr. Clayton.
Thank you.
Debated in parts.
Yes, commissioners and Commissioner Hagan, any contract, whether it's professional engineering services or construction, there are clauses in which you can terminate for convenience. It usually involves something to the effect like pay for work to date, which is obvious. Public agencies rarely have to pay a penalty for terminating contract for convenience. In other words, if you choose to contract X number of dollars, but only want to spend X minus whatever, you don't have to pay a penalty. It's not like an early payment on a mortgage or anything like that. So there's normal termination clauses. My contract, I'll say mine, assuming we go that route, I'll just generalize maybe even better. Any professional services contract also has termination clause for convenience, but they also have clauses that we can't start the next phase of work until the owner, in this case, Grand Forks County Commission, authorizes to proceed to the next step of the design. And there's always a, you know, a 3-step process, schematic, preliminary, final design.
So question for you, if you were to get started on this, the initial expense to the ramp, and let's say we're 3 months in. And all of a sudden, we come to an agreement with the city, and so we're already kind of rolling. Would there be a way to determine what we've already kind of paid for under our oversight versus what they would be taking on after the transfer?
Sure, and I'm gonna, assuming Miss Commissioner Hagan's question's been answered.
Yes, it has. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rustad, and I assume you're talking about construction contracts.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, every month they have to submit a payment for an application for payment. Engineer reviews it, we look at it. So every month, there's a milestone application for payment, so we will know exactly what they've spent, exactly where they've earned their money. Now, if for some reason that request to terminate or halt the contract happens between a month, you know, we still have contractors that they're all trustworthy, they will give us work to date. So we'd have previous month pay application, a work to date for the month in progress. So we'd be able to get you very accurate numbers on cost to date at any time of a construction.
So in short, if it were to change hands midstream, not really a problem with getting you guys paid on your end.
No, that would be the least of the concerns is the engineering side of it. Contracting side's a little different because they actually have to buy things, you know, steel, concrete, this, that. That's often a sunk cost up front. I think the bigger question there, and maybe I'm reading something into the question, Commissioner, that wasn't there. But if you then want to transfer the contract to another party. That's a negotiated term of the contractor. It would be rare and probably concerning to issue a bid for construction with a clause in it. And I'll paraphrase and put it in some vernacular. A contractor, we might change owners sometime during the contract. That's generally gonna make contractors super nervous. And less likely to bid and pursue a bid project. So I think that the recommendation would be under the hypothetical of an opportunity to change ownership of a project during construction. I would suggest and recommend that that's a situation we deal with at the time. And assume the project is going forward, bid under the normal ownership terms and proceed.
In your opinion, is it workable?
Well, I think anything's workable as long as all parties are acting in good faith. And I have no doubt that they would. I mean, my experience with our contractors has been nothing but fair and honorable.
Well, in addition, the city would be acting in good faith if they stepped in because they came to an agreement that
Correct.
that doesn't seem to me to be the end of it.
Exactly. I mean, you folks do what you say you're gonna do and then go do it. The city behaves the same way. Contractors are the same. All of us have a better interest to be fair. You know, cause the minute you're not fair, all of a sudden that dark cloud hangs over our head and that generally doesn't work so well. So it's all in our best interest, to just be fair and honorable.
With respect to the motion that's on the floor, don't we need an amount and a funding source?
As far as I would say that we take the funding out of the ARPA money, the $3 million. And we proceed as if we're the owners. I mean, seriously. And if the city says something later, fine. But I think we need to proceed because it is our parking ramp. We need to get it done. So.
So what amount of funding is available to us, 3 million even, that much? So. What does that cover? On here,
That will get you the full repairs of the upper deck. And project costs associated with it. We don't believe that would get all the repairs under contract. But it would get what we recommend is the immediate need, the upper deck. We're confident you can get that under contract for under 3 million.
okay. So. Do you want to amend your motion to include that dollar amount and?
Yeah, I would amend my motion then to include that, the $3 million, ARPA money. To start with the, construction repairs in the ramp. And, just go from there, I guess.
I would
Take a
agree.
second, do you agree with the motion as, all right, any further discussion?
I wonder if there's any appetite for an additional amendment on top of that. Mr. Rost's motion that maybe would state that we would make it, I guess, an offer to the city simultaneously. You know, for the land swap. And, you know,
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ross and Ms. Longstreet, correct me, or can we have a third person making an amendment to the motion? We have a motion and a second, and somebody else make.
It would be up to the person making the motion.
Ross.
The motion, or we could do two separate motions, one for the repairs, one for the solution.
I'll be fresh, I said. Thank you. Okay.
The discussion finished?
Yeah.
Right. The motion and second has been made and on the floor, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chair, I think we probably need to do a roll call
We
vote.
need a roll call, I'm sorry. Commissioner Ross, you're on the end,
Yes.
Commissioner Rusted,
No.
Commissioner Peach?
Yeah.
Commissioner Hagan,
No.
and I will vote yes. You too. So we'll get started, see what happens.
So am I able to make an additional option then and see if it could gain any traction? We at this time also. Extend something to the city stating that, you know. Well, what, I said 1.6, I kind of just threw it out there, right, because I think there was a pretty large number up front. They possible. There's some corners that could be potentially rounded off, that we offer them the land swap and 1.6 of those ARPA funds and await their response.
Well, the thing is, don't, if we're going to make that kind of an offer to them, doesn't it have to include all the terms that we're gonna have in the contract? Don't we have to work on the whole thing if we're gonna?
That's where it gets a little sticky, because we don't know what terms that they're gonna be acceptable to, or what.
I understand, but they know what our needs are, and we haven't heard back from them on any of those things.
The reason this seems a little rushed is because we're about to spend the remainder of the ARPA funds on this, and our other needs that are piling up from a facility standpoint in the county have got me laying awake at night. And so this was the only particular facility that there's been shown any interest in taking it off of our hands and still keeping it accessible to us. So I don't want to see it slip away before we have an opportunity. I don't want to miss an opportunity to make it so we still have some financial flexibility for some of the other facilities, sheriff's department, state's attorney, grandstands, things like that. I mean, you know, sort of faster than the sales tax on these things need to be paid for, need to be reconciled. This is the only parachute that I'm seeing that's in front of us, so, yeah, absolutely, I feel like it should be part of the motion, but we don't know it. And so, I mean, maybe the motion could be amended to say something to the effect of. We continue talks with the city. Negotiations with the city. On transfer of ownership. To the park. I just don't want to miss out on that opportunity for the county.
I have a question. For anyone else, what other, these ARPA funds are limited and how, what they're gonna be applied to. Are there other things we have that we can spread that around, or is it pretty difficult?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we have $10 million in ARPA funds that we can spend for any governmental purpose. So they could be used for something other than the parking.
The funds that, come from a government. That we just use those funds.
Mr. Chair,
If that's,
excuse me, if the commission. With Commissioner Rusted's motion on the table for that dollar amount. From the public safety infrastructure meeting. I have a pretty comprehensive list of what the county would need instead of contract. So the commission moves forward and wants to continue engaging with the city. That can just be done administratively. I can get in touch with Mr. Phelan. Propose the counter offer that if the commission moves forward and also propose many of those other concerns we would need addressed in a contract and then come back and.
that may be an appropriate way. I was trying to think how you can make one motion now and then another motion later for the parking spaces and on it goes.
Yeah.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor, for
I,
Interrupt.
Chairman Engen, I think we can proceed in getting this ramp done and still continue the negotiation with the city. Period, that's it.
And where this entire sum is gonna be spent very quickly.
Yeah.
It takes several months and
Yeah.
a deal gets worked out that's to our complete satisfaction. Maybe they could step in at some point after the initial.
Mr. Chair, it's gonna take time. I mean, we'll have to go through the bidding process, publication, bids, opening bids, negotiations, so. Starting today, there's still front end work to do.
Yeah.
So schedule's been discussed quite a bit and you folks do have some policy things that you're gonna be working on. Might be helpful to know what we recommend as a bidding schedule. We'll work on the contract for the engineering services ASAP as soon as we get it. Fortunately, we've contracted with you before, so that's a fairly known document. I don't expect any major surprises there. But we can get bidding documents ready for, if we need an authorization to bid from the commission, we can have those on March 19th. Possibly the Tuesday prior, 2 weeks prior to that, we really got our ducks in a row. But right now, our safe bet would be the March 19th, having ready. So I think that might be helpful to kind of plan some activities between today and the time we go to bid. And then open bids, the standard 3 weeks and a day after that. That's what we'd recommend right now is project schedule.
Like Commissioner Rustin, would it be acceptable to just simply by consensus direct staff to work with their city staff and see what their interest is and whether there's anything to talk about or
I think that's
work forward with what?
I just don't wanna dismiss at this juncture. I really for sure know if it's dead yet. Just worried about all those other facilities, so, hey, don't mean to be disruptive or whatever, but so. So for a budget caucus myself, this one's been, I got this hanging over my head a little bit, so.
Well, we all wish we didn't have budget issues that we have to fight each and every budget process, that's for sure. But we just do the best we can and make the right choices. So it doesn't hurt to have staff work with the city and see what's out there with the idea that we are going to do something and we're gonna get started. All right, that's fair, everybody?
Great.
Yeah, good.
So Mr. Chair, what I'll do is resend to the commission all of those negotiating points we would have on our side, just as a refresher to the board. And for clarity, 1.6, is that the counter offer then that
Although it isn't necessarily a counter offer. There hasn't been a motion to pass to say what a counter offer would be. It's more or less talking to them to. What if, kind of thing,
Okay.
negotiation, that works.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Clement.
Mr. West, what do you got for us today?
I can say hi, or.
Yeah.
A couple just tidbits for the board and a couple of requests here, but, first off, I got an email from the DOT a week ago. That, we have, we have one federal aid bridge that's being bid right now. It's a bridge south of Manville on County 5, and I was here, I believe, last meeting, they had some contract signed on that. However, the other 4 projects which contain, well, 10 or 11 bridges. All of those have been pushed back at least a year, if not 2 years. Due to funding issues. So we had our county roads conference last week, and the stats that they gave us, bridges are costing 43% more than they did just a couple of years ago. So they need more years of funding to get the same projects that they promised counties. The other real kind of kick in the groin is we had 4 structures that we were gonna take out and put in low water crossings. And those have all been completely removed from funding. So we are on our own on those, which is if we had to do 4 of them on our own, those would be the ones. They're cheaper, they're smaller magnitude, but after the last year or so, we were thinking those were gonna be federally funded 100%. And now we're on our own, so trying to figure out things for that and how we're gonna do that. I still want to proceed, and not this year or next year. With locally funded projects, and I'm working on options there, but that's some moderate to poor bad news. Any questions with that? We don't really have a choice, it is what it is. On some very positive news, so I got teased a little bit, Commissioner Angan, so you know that boring bridge is not much to look at by Northwood?
Which one?
The new one?
Oh, yes.
It won a national award.
For beautification or just because it works well?
Because it worked so well and it was done so quick. So I just remember your comment from a couple weeks.
Okay.
Makes me chuckle. Yeah, the American Institute of Steel Construction had picked 8 bridges throughout the nation, and it's crazy we're even in the same press release because a lot of these. If you look at them, and I just emailed it this afternoon, so most of you probably haven't seen them. I have a hard copy if you'd like, but most of these are very huge, like large suspension bridges, mile long, half mile long, that kind of stuff. Hundreds of millions of dollar project, and then here's our little minute thing in Northwood. So, and it was the category, right? I mean, it's a small category, so. They're looking for a small bridge, but it was selected because it was done at the end of winter, and it was done very quick. So that was the cool thing about it, so, hey, a little accolade for us.
So is this now a tourist attraction or move into North Dakota?
It's sort of buying the land around it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Well, thank you. Anything else? Did you need a motion of any sort?
No, not with that, and there's.
On this request of the Board of County Commissioners, the 8A on the concept assist.
Oh, yeah, that one.
It says requested motion on it.
Yep, yeah, so I do have 2 formal requests for the board.
Okay.
Yes, so one is, back in September, we applied for a township assistance grant, and I think there was, and how many did we have in the county? About 7 or 6 or 7 of them we applied for. Like the township supervisors approached me about applying for them. And we had one that got selected. I think I did mention this at a previous commission meeting, but, the total grant, $265,000, and it's to place 6 inches of gravel on 7 miles of road in Michigan and Ellenville Township. Funny thing is, sometimes you just never know, right? You apply for these things, so I remember when the township supervisor approached me about it, I was like, well, if you wanna apply for it, I'll apply for it, it doesn't take that long. Pretty easy application. But it can get selected. Or, you know, out of all the projects we had in the county, I thought this one was the least likely to get selected. What the heck do I know, right? So it got selected and I found out why later. which was pretty, it involved 2 townships. Which was, they really liked that, and then there was a project selected in Trail County that was a mile away that they thought maybe would be a nice connector road. And it went by, you know, the co-op offices just west of Thompson and the East Central Water Office and what was the other big things? Well, I took the traffic volume was fairly high, but just right, it took the out right on the north end, right by that subdivision. But yeah, so it had a little higher traffic count, but just a couple of neat, weird nuances that it got selected, so. But the challenge is it's a reimbursement program, so project's done, you gotta pay the contractor, submit all that data to the state, and then get reimbursed. Well, 265,000, there's absolutely no way a township could ever afford that. Plus, they just don't have the means of bidding and working with contractors at that magnitude. Do the right documentation that satisfy the DOT, so. My request to the board is, I'd like to treat this as a county project. We'll run it through our department, we'll administer it all, bid it out. It shouldn't cost us any money. Just our time, and basically just do it for the township, so. That's my request.
Mr. Beach,
I would move approval of the motion that Mr. West just explained.
second? So, Commissioner Rusted, second. Yeah. Any further discussion? Questions of Nicholas? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Pass.
Thank you. My next request is this is unique. And it's how we charge our township maintenance fees. So just for the board's reminder, how we charge maintenance fees is. We keep track of how much time we spend in each township for blading, gravel, and snow removal. At the end of the year, we add up our costs. Put in the spreadsheet, and we take a 5-year average, and we charge the townships, our goal is 75% of that 5-year average. And that was adopted back in 2016 as a formula. And it's been working pretty well and well accepted. Last winter was an awful snow removal winter, extremely expensive. I listed a couple of items in here, just salaries, fuel, equipment repair. We overran those 3 items by over $500,000. And that's not counting all the miscellaneous items that were affected, and you can pretty much blame snow removal for that, so that'd be February, March, and April last year is where we accumulated those expenses. The great news, and here's where our state legislature truly did a wonderful thing, in my opinion. They had a bill that reimbursed townships, cities, counties for that excess snow removal. Delivered specifically for that. Luckily, the session was going on right in the middle of all this snow removal, so it was right in your face. But so our county got $448,000, which just about makes up for the difference in those 2 main line items, which was huge. So we had those expenses that were direct. The state reimbursed us for quite a bit of it, really made a difference in our budget and made our department whole, I'll say. The challenge is or I would like to try to share that wealth with the townships. Granted, the townships didn't pay an extra fee for this large excess snow removal. But they're end of 22 and 23, so we're gonna use 23 because 22 was already come and gone and we've been working with that, but primarily 2023, February, March, and April were the worst. The snow removal for last year is gonna have a huge number, right? However, the county got reimbursed for some of that. So I think we could lower it, and my goal would be is to lower each township's 2023 snow removal by a formula that prorates it per the township based on how much time was spent and how much they actually pay. And Jen in our department was the brains behind all this, and it took her a while to convince me this is the way to go. I think it's good. And it took her a while to explain her logic to me, but she's an accountant, and I think it worked well. So what we did is we used the same methodology the state has, so you take the previous 5 years, you take the lowest 4-year snow removal, add 150%, and they reimburse 60% above the 150%. That's the quick and dirty of it. And then we apply that same percentage to each township based on what they have. And then times the factor of the actual percentage paid. Came up with a number for each township. And then I'd like to lower their 2023 snow removal by that amount. So that way the township isn't hit with their long-term averages being artificially increased when the county's been reimbursed for that money anyway.
The way I see it, they're entitled to it. That's through my mind's eye, unless I'm missing something, so I'll move.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Rusted, second by Commissioner Peach. Any discussion? Mr. Hagan, got any comments?
No, you guys are too fast on those first and seconds, so you
No.
got it.
Let you adjourn.
Thanks so much. The important stuff.
Any, no other discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you,
That's all I have.
that's a
Anything
good
else?
idea. That's yeah.
Thank you.
More money talk. Finance and tax, right?
Yes,
That's where we are.
yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, you have a budget to actual report in front of you, for 2023 for the general fund, so we'll go through that first. Line item, department, general fund department. Are showing up on the screen. The human service zone in your line item is something we had in the general fund, but changed in, the law, so after June 30th, 2023, we no longer pay the indirect costs. So you can see that we were only 53.63%, and we won't have that in the future. Or at least not in 2024 anyway. County fair, we include that, we used to levy separately for the county fair. And so we continue to do that, and so the money that, actual there is the property taxes that are paid, the same exact percentage, 93.5%. So the money that we receive, the property taxes goes up to the farm. They're, based on the $100,000 budget. The insurance reserve is slightly over at 105.29%. Our liability insurance was over, our value of assets has increased. And everything is going up. Advertising is under about $2,000 at 90.26%. Correctional center. We're under $735,000. $470,000 was from salaries and benefits, but you can't stay full staff.
Right.
So there was a $735,000 savings because of that. Also, the inmate medical was almost $100,000 down under budget. It's a good thing, you gotta take that. Their furniture and building improvements was less 82,000. I guess because new construction that's going on out there, they didn't spend some budgeted furniture and building improvement dollars. Commissioners budget was under 15,800. We're at 90.7% for the travel was under and health insurance was under. Human resources was under about $6,400, just under 100%, as well as the county administrator. The district court charges includes guardian ad litem. And that was under $4,400, something you cannot visit, where that's gonna go. Sexually dangerous is also under it, and we're at only at 9.2%. So, that's, you can't predict that from year to year where that's gonna go. Finance and tax, we were under 27,500. Now, I was going to mention too that back in, October of 2023, we used, we gave everybody a 5% increase in pay. We did not make a transfer from the CARES fund, and for the most part, people were able to make up the difference in other areas of their budget. State's attorney is at 95.33%, $148,000 under. Most of that is from salaries and benefits. Health insurance was all under 100,000 of that. Victims witness fee, 107%. So it's slightly above and control. About $1,500 over. County recorder, 97.18%, and they were under by 11,500. And a lot of it comes from not being able to be full staff. Superintendent of schools, under $750. Tax equalization, they were pretty much right in the money. The computer budget that was also employee benefits was under or at 89.7%. Yep, 89.72%, or $2,500 for unemployment insurance. There again, you can't predict when you're going to need that. Buildings and grounds is under $1,000. Their service agreements were under $23,000. Repair were under almost $19,000. So they were ended the year at 94.85%. Elections, it was a non-election year. So we had a few expenses.
I was budgeted for a non-election year.
We always budget in case we have a special election, so we have some funds available for that. These now, they come, they requested and I have been doing these ads for the year, the exact budget and numbers. County memberships. 175.21%, and the reason we're over there is because the North Dakota Association of Counties was paid both in January and December, so we paid 2 years and 1 year, so we'll see that reflected next year. Utilities, 9.9%, or I mean, contracted services, we're at 100% there again. We budget for the amount that we're going to pay and we paid it. Utilities 90.19%. They were under 44,000 in electricity and fuel. They were under budget. The conference rooms, under budget $2,000. Capital improvements were at 81.7 at $1.3 million. There were a couple things that were not spent. One is $125,000 that was included in the budget for the restrooms at the sheriff's training facility. That's happening now, I believe. And $100,000 for the fairgrounds emergency electrical work.
That still hasn't.
That hasn't happened either. So those were the things that, the big things that didn't happen. The sheriff, 103.54%. They were over on their expenses by 176,000, but they had revenues greater of $255,000. So that covers it. Regional Youth Assessment Center, they're at 108.67% at the end of the year. They were over $119,000 in expenses, but their revenues were over $530,000. More than budgeted, and that was for shelter care and prisoner board. Mental health hearing, this is under, and they ended the year at 67%. County coroner, over about $30,000 for coroner services and supplies. Emergency manager, 96.33%, almost $14,000 under. Planning and zoning, under 23,500. Miscellaneous was over. We only budget slightly over $100,000, but we paid for our FEMA buyouts that were reimbursed or will be reimbursed.
Will be really.
Yeah, so we pay for them first and then get reimbursed. County reserve, we had no expenditures there. The narcotics task force, it was about $1,100 under. All the remaining items there are, things that we guess at as far as the budget, what we're going to do with those items, 'cause we usually don't know what it's going to be. As far as the narcotics task force and the victims reparation program. Parking ramp maintenance was under $30,000. The asset forfeiture was under $3,000. The Grand Forks County Social Service Client Opportunity Fund was under $1,600. And the recorder check fund, $3,400 under hazard chemical. Prep was under 4,900 and contract policing under 7,400. So with all those departments in the general fund, we were under $1 million in our expenditures. And the next page is the other funds as well as the general fund. In the cash balance in the general fund, the 20 million, we have $1.6 million in CARES dollars that we have left, and we also have $1 million, almost $1 million in the county reserve that's included in there. The road funds. The road and bridge actual, we had $967,000 greater in the road fund. And that was a legacy earnings of $975,000 that we received in 2023. So the road fund include road and bridge and the highway. And we spent more in highway than, we had received less in revenue in highway than we had budgeted. And then in the highway also, we had increased costs for gas, fuel and repair. That Nick discussed earlier too. So we have $2.3 million at the end of the year in the road fund. Capital construction. We had a correctional center bond fund of $32,900,000, and we took $15 million and transferred that to the US Bank to earn interest on those funds and use it for future debt service on the bonds, saving us almost $6 million. And then we have a $15 million Bank of North Dakota loan that we're going to be using. We haven't used it yet, and we only get charged 2% on any money we use. So in the bond fund, we had to transfer $15 million out of the bond fund and into the US Bank fund. And so that's why our expenditures are 23 million, because we had $15 million transfer out of there. So that's why that was so high. We spent about $9,000 so far of our bond funds. On the correctional center project. We have not spent anything on the dome as of yet. Weed control, they had revenues of 91.02%. And expenditures of 76.74%. So if you look at the bottom and you add back the transfer, that bond transfer that we did, and subtract off that 15 million plus the 5 million, we would be at 100% on our revenues. So although it shows 68.55, you have to take into account that we transferred those funds and use the cash, and therefore we didn't have any revenue to show there. So we just have the funds. And then expenditures overall, we're at 96.83%. So we had a very good year.
Okay.
Are there any questions on the budget?
Questions? And this is just information?
Just information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Think the next item, next year, line two.
Yes. Okay.
So card care systems, so we have an ATM in our building. And I was contacted by them and said. We have never had an agreement. We need an agreement, we bring this to the commission, So we've had an ATM in this building pretty much since it was built. Two different companies, this is the current. Company we have is Card Care Systems, it costs us nothing. So we do make a little bit of money off, having the ATM here. And there's also one at the correctional center, and so you would see another agreement for them in the future. They would like this signed, electronically. But the sheriff's office on the agenda, and he questioned, whether or not we would be open to allowing the sheriff to, take over the ATM and then get the fees. At
Yeah,
which-
it's the deputies association, actually.
okay,
The deputy association.
right, so they have a machine, I guess, in the police department that they do this for.
Yeah. Did you want us
Yeah.
to come up with
Sure.
So. Good afternoon, so, yes, the Sheriff's Deputies Association, so it's not the sheriff, but not the sheriff's office, it's a complete. Association made up by the deputies, I'm a member at large. Nicole Richter is the president, so she can answer any questions about the ATM and where the fees go and everything.
One question for you, so the county has no liability, I mean, you go to the bank, get the cash, put the cash in the machine, and. If there's missing cash, the county doesn't have any liability, correct?
That's correct, it's, the association is a nonprofit charitable organization. And through the funds that we generated, we purchased an ATM, and that's another source for us to continue our charitable work within the county.
So, I guess I didn't understand you were buying the machine too, are you buying the machine?
Correct, we would buy that.
Oh,
Yeah.
the association would buy it, so we
That's
wouldn't have, cause I said to the sheriff too, I said. Well, maybe another option would be is that we give you the money that we generate. From the machine. It's about. I would say it's $600, about,
A year?
yes, a year, and theirs is 600, the correctional center, so $1,200 for both of them. But if you're just looking at one of the two. And about $600, and so I don't know if you would make more money than that.
Well, so my first question would be, how much of the fee is the company retaining? And what's the county's cut of that fee?
Yeah, I don't.
So I guess unless you want. Okay,
The way that we work it, we own the ATM, we maintain it, we stock it, everything, so we take 100% of the profit. from the ATM fee, and that is then what we put back into the community. So I don't know if the company you're using right now is taking a portion of that, so
Oh,
you're
I'm sure
only
they
getting,
are.
I would assume.
I would assume they
You're
are.
probably getting a very small portion of what they're taking.
And then the,
how much do you make off that ATM over at the PD building?
Ooh, so we put it in, would have been January of 23, and we're roughly around $900 for the year.
a lot less foot traffic, we feel though, our ATM is on the second floor of the police department. Most of the foot traffic's on the first floor, so I think that if the commission did allow us to put an ATM over here, we would see a lot better profit. And all of the money goes, to people, families that need it in the county, whether it's, schools or paying off school lunches, I think we've done that.
We've done that, we provide hats and snow pants and coats and anything really the school is looking for, if they need supplies for the kids, or it also would go to our annual shop activity that we do that funds that program. Just a lot of things that just giving back to mainly children within the county.
Specifically the county. So I guess we would just add that you maybe just consider allowing the Deputies Association to have a vote of its membership and purchase the ATM and put it over here.
I think, Mr. Ross,
I'm well aware what the Deputies Association does over there. I mean, and they work very hard out in Grand Forks County to support the various endeavors out there. The shop with the deputy it's huge. I participated in it myself many times. And I think it would be a very worthwhile project to allow them to purchase that ATM machine. And stock and take care of it and contribute to the programs that are very valuable out in Grand Forks County, and I would make that in the form of a motion.
before we have a motion. It seems to me that, in a matter of fairness, these folks submitted a contract, not having any idea that there was any other issue. Other than the good service they've been provided. I think we should table it till just the next meeting. Give them an opportunity. I don't know how they're gonna have a better deal than you got going. I like this idea a lot. But I think as a matter of fundamental fairness, we should at least advise them. They've got someone else who's
Competition.
good competitor now and speak up or whatever.
To
And then we would choose between the two.
be fair, I think we discussed it, and the Deputies Association has no interest in the ATM at the jail. The jail, cause I think they control both, right? Here
Right.
and the jail. We have no interest in the jail. We feel like the jail would be one step, a bridge too far. For us to maintain. We'd have one at the PD building, one downtown. We know we have deputies in the courthouse that could maybe at the end of their shift, come over and deal with the ATM because it's close. But the jail would be maybe a bridge too far. So if you want to tell the company that, like, we have no
Both should be advised that they could still have a contract for one perhaps, or at least talk about it, so.
right, and that would give up, I think our membership time to talk about it and make a vote to.
So if that company's not interested in just having the one at the jail. And instead of both, like if they would just both or none. If you guys would be willing to do the one in the jail, because we hate to cut off a nose despite the face.
I think we would have to take a vote, but I'm willing to take that on anyway, and I think that the rest of them would, yeah.
As long as it's an option.
Yeah.
If we had to.
So do we need a motion, or do we have a consensus that we can table it for, till the next meeting, get the facts out, give them a chance, and have you guys come back? Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
I'm John, I'll be here 2 weeks when this comes up again.
Yeah,
That's right,
They received.
So.
From a room that was damaged. And then they received the money from a grant. They're going to purchase
Not over 5 years, it's been only over 5 years, and so we need to set aside those funds that are sitting in the general fund, any funds that are in the general fund, stay in the general fund, and they don't stay in the line item.
Right.
And so they are requesting that we carry a new fund, which will be part of the general fund, but it'll be a separate fund for
Line item.
$22,926.83. And so I seek a motion for that.
So moved. Second.
One quick. We have a motion from Commissioner Rusted. Second by Commissioner Ross to create that account to carry over that's the revenue. The amount of 29,2683. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed.
Next item is the pay for the election workers. Well, we're currently paying judges and clerks $15 an hour. And inspectors $18 an hour, and I request that we increase their wages for 2024 elections to $17 per hour for judges and clerks. And $20 for inspectors, and I have included that increase in my budgeted amount for election.
No.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Rusted moved, Mr. Ross second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Next one.
The next one is establishing the polling places. I have to do that, or you have to do that prior to the election. And I've got them listed there, 4 voting centers in the city of Grand Forks for any voters in the whole county. Would be Alair Center, Icon, Hope Economy, and Hope Church. In 2022, we used Holy Family instead of Hope Church. But they will only have a small space open in November, and that won't work. And so I have asked that we switch that to Hope Church. And then we have the other polling places, the Alair Center for Brenna Faulkner, Grand Forks and Wally Townships, the Gilby Presbyterian Church, Larimore Senior Citizen Center, the Maryville Public School, Northwood Community Center, Thompson Community Center, and Moreno's Community Center. Those polling places are only for the people that live in those areas. Someone from Grand Forks could not go out to those sites to vote, but they could come into Grand Forks to vote.
Good.
So I need a motion to approve those polling sites.
Commissioner Hagan, any motions today?
I would love to make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
All right, the next one is for the early voting precincts. You want to have an early voting precinct, you have to do so by motion before the 64th day prior to the election. I have selected the dates June 4th, it's a Tuesday, through Saturday, June 8th, at the Alair Center for early voting. I need a motion to approve that.
Is this just for the primary or the
I did.
later election? Just
I'll
primary?
move that one later. This is just for the front.
Yeah.
I would move approval of that.
Commissioner Peach, second. Commissioner Rusted. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
The next one is for an absentee ballot precinct. For the volume of absentee ballots that we receive, we need to do that separately. In the past, they had been sent out to the polling sites to be opened and inserted into the machine by the election day workers, and they're too busy to do that. I need a separate absentee ballot thing that actually can start the day before the election. With the volume that we get, we need an absentee ballot precinct, and there again, I need to approve that for 64 days prior to the election. So I would like a motion to establish an absentee ballot precinct for the June 11, 2024 primary election.
Almost.
Commissioner Rusted, motion,
Second.
Commissioner Ross, second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Pat,
And the next item is that primary residence credit, that's just a reminder and making the reporter would report on this. To let anybody that has a North Dakota residence apply for a primary residence credit, they have to do it by March 31st. March 31st.
Yeah, they're up at the big stage.
Yeah, that would be good.
all right, great deal.
And they have to do it by March 31st. And it's $500 on your 2024 taxes. Up to $500 on. And the last item that I have is we need to schedule a public safety and infrastructure committee meeting to discuss the capital improvement projects that people would like for 2020. So what day would work?
Right before our next meeting is the Human Services Board meeting.
That's a good, good
Yeah.
before that. What are you saying?
Well, we could, but it would be at 1 o'clock, because at 2 o'clock is the Human Service Zone Board meeting.
When do you need it to be accomplished? Before our next meeting? A month down the line or?
I guess I haven't had any requests yet, but people are gonna be wondering, did my project get approved?
There is, Mr. Chair, probably sooner would be helpful. One ongoing discussion, Commissioner Ross can verify. As we've been going through the construction budget for the Youth Assessment Center. In order to save some funding towards the bond, we were gonna include the new chiller in capital improvements, so that keeps coming up and at the construction meetings, and so that's one area we'll be looking for that committee to approve, so possibly sooner than later with respect.
Well, like next Monday at 4 at the same time, same. What about next Monday, go ahead, for that work?
Monday, yes, the 12th.
Well,
Just, if it works for people. Kind of used to this full thought stuff.
In the. A lot of trips to Grand Forks this week and next week, so, all right.
Is there any way that we could put it in the week of the 19th through the 23rd? Next week is not good for me. Or is that too late, I guess? I mean,
The 20th is the commission day, the Monday prior to the commission meeting.
yep.
Is that a day that works for you?
The holiday.
Okay.
holiday.
Was president.
So what time does your meeting start?
Lights not loud.
That's at 2 o'clock.
So we should have it at 1.
1 o'clock, would that be a great or 1 o'clock?
Today? Which day?
The 20th.
20th.
Right here, correct? Yeah.
Commissioner Hagan, does that work for you?
You said 1 o'clock on the day of our next commission meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fair. Yep.
That'll be on the 20th.
Yep.
Everybody else work? All right. Like,
Very
1
good,
o'clock.
thank you, that's all I have.
And is that a reasonably short meeting, do you think? We don't know.
Well,
We only got an hour.
we'll try hard and we'll talk back.
it has to be,
What work are we at?
just leave it, at 2 o'clock.
All right. All right, we'll go with that. Okay, county administrator.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I just have 2 quick items. The first, the city of East Grand Forks is applying for a Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability Equity Grant. And they would be using that, if successful, they would be using that grant to go towards the Pell study or the ongoing river crossing study that's happening. Which would be a significant cost savings towards that Pell study. So, they've asked Grand Forks County to submit a letter of support for that application. I just want to remind the board, there's no predetermined location for a bridge. you're not endorsing any location for a bridge, no dollar commitments, it's just, you're endorsing the city of East Grand Forks application for this grant.
Will they cover the stamp?
Possibly, I can see if they'll do that.
All right, you need a motion to,
Chair's signature on the letter, yes, sir.
ready for motion,
I would move approval.
that's a peach.
I'll second.
Good, you interested?
Yeah.
All right, I don't think we need discussion, this is, if all in favor of the motion, let's take a, oh, yes, I'm not.
Otherwise, I think discussion, that one's been beat to death pretty good, so.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
The only other item is, when the board approved the county office building and courthouse space assessment study, and that proposal, the reminder was 39,500. A specific, line item was not identified to fund that. So I visited with Ms. Nelson today and, suggesting the general fund miscellaneous account, to fund that study. We would just be looking for commission approval on that.
Also moved. Second.
Mr. Ross, move approval, and Mr. Russ is seconded, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah,
That's all I have.
Mr. Chair, I have nothing to the board.
volunteer, all right. Committee reports, Commissioner Hagan, you're the farthest away.
I have nothing for the good of the group today,
Okay.
thanks.
Mr. Ross.
Just our construction meetings, we're meeting on Tuesday, a little muddy out there today. But that's why we have car washes in Grand Forks, so, we were all advised to wear our boots today, so. But they're really moving along out there, really coming along, so. But that's all I got.
Mr. Rusted,
I've got nothing to report today, thank you.
Mr. Beach.
I have nothing to report.
I have only one thing, and it's kind of a good news thing. Our own Gracie Leon, wherever she's hiding, is gonna be going to the Air War College week that is put on by the National Security Forum at Air University at Maxwell Air Force Base. You should go to Maxwell in the summer, though. I've been there in the summer. It's really fun there, but it's a good time of year to go. So you're doing that in May. Ford has done that. And I think it was a pretty good experience, right?
It was one of the best experiences of my professional life, yes, sir.
You have to be nominated by the wing commander. And then approved by the.
Secretary of the Air Force. Yes.
We're proud of you for that, and
Congratulations.
congratulations, if you'll enjoy that.
I'm excited.
All right, that's all I have. Correspondence?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, no, unfinished, there's a salvage burning thing.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay,
What's the notification?
yeah, that's the thing. And then 2 letters, okay, everyone's seen those? Well. Another motion?
Commissioner
Oh,
Hagan.
I would like to have a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
There you go.